I have ancient runes next. You two go to charms, I'll meet you there.
What is she on about?
I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good. Welcome back to WaterparkRanger's Let's Play Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. In the last episode, we gathered the potions ingredients that we needed for Snape's class, and in this episode, we're going to be going into the longest dungeon in the game, Professor Flitwick. I love Professor Flitwick, especially in the first two movies, because he looks different in the third one, but it turns out he was probably actually played by the same guy, and they just gave him a different costume, which doesn't make any sense because he looks like a completely different person between Chamber of Secrets and Prisoner of Azkaban. Like, in the first two, he looks kind of like old Bilbo from Lord of the Rings. He's really hard to forget, kind of like a very leprechaun-looking guy. One of my favorite characters in the series, actually, just due to his design and his, like, eccentric his nature, even though he, like, hardly ever appears in the series. He's really great when he does. Particularly in the video games, like in the Incendio Challenge Chamber in the Chamber of Secrets game, where he's like, off you jolly well go! And then you go in and it's like hell. I love him. He's amazing. And he's also going to talk during this next cutscene, so I'm not going to talk over him. Just listen in on him.
Which is why the Carpe Retractum spell is useful. It allows you to seize and pull objects within your direct line of sight towards you.
Sorry.
Miss Granger, would you be so kind as to bring Harry and Ron to the front with you? It's your turn to retrieve the Carpe Retractum spellbook.
This place is crazy. This is the place that I'm talking about that, like, gave me so much trouble when I played this as a kid. But it wasn't necessarily easy either. This is probably the longest dungeon in the Harry Potter series of games that I've played. I mean, I've only played Prisoner of Azkaban and Chamber of Secrets, so that's not saying much. But I'm going to assume it's one of the longer ones in there. It's probably going to take it's definitely going to take more than one episode for us to clear it. First things first, we got to face off against some torches. These things we encountered back in the Glacius Challenge Chamber, and I said they'd appeared in another dungeon. I suppose this is the one. I remembered them appearing in more dungeons, but in retrospect, I was probably thinking about those random fireballs that we fought in the, where I say we just froze. They don't exactly fight you, but those random fireballs that appear in the Black Deeds dungeon. So with the full party, it's much easier to dispatch these torches than with just Hermione. You're more or less guaranteed to get them in one go. Of course, don't get greedy. If you see one attacking, feel free to step out of the way, like I'm doing. No reason to really get burnt and lose a lot of HP early on against these enemies. I have to admit, I really do like this dungeon because it's not like it has like the most clever puzzles, but it does make you think like creatively about using several of your different spells and switching between characters, and it's what I would have liked to see more overall from this game engine. Like, it wasn't used to its full extent as often as it should have been. This is one of the few places, like, in the Harry Potter series that I would say they really pretty much did everything they could with the Zelda clone mechanics that they had. Like this, for instance. We have these random hooks on the wall. If you try to touch them and pull them, they burn your hands. So what you've got to do is freeze them with Glacius, and after you've frozen all three of them, have each one of your party members pull onto them. If you don't do it quickly enough, they're going to heat up again, and you're going to freeze them down because they'll scorch your hands off. I mean, you won't literally lose your hands, but you won't be able to hold on either.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
I really like that. They don't even give you like a break right after that puzzle. Suddenly, it triggered enemies. It's kind of funny because the first time I was playing through this, not even as a kid, like when I was trying to play test it to see what I would do during the LP, I had a really hard time figuring out that puzzle. I was like, is Ron supposed to find like a secret door? I had no idea that those hooks were actually hot until I looked closely and I'm like, wait, they're burning. Oh, we have to cool them down and then pull on them. I thought that was really cool. Anyway, we've got to fight off a lot of red caps here. None of them have shields, to my knowledge anyway. I don't think any of them have shields. You just have to keep flipendoing them and they'll go down. Of course, every time you clear a wave, a new wave appears from the next floor, but I think this is the last wave of red caps in this challenge. Also, I'm not sure whether you can shoot them from a distance before they climb down. I'm gonna guess that you can't. And, like I said earlier, the basic strategy with red caps, as with so many ground-based melee enemies, is you just want to strafe them, get behind them, and then attack them with Flipendo. I've also noticed that Red Cap battles seem to have their own, like, battle music with a distinct tune that plays when you've defeated all the Red Caps in a given area. It's kind of irritating, actually. I really hate Red Caps. Now, this part's also kind of annoying because it's not programmed that well. It's pretty clear that you gotta lift up the gate with Harry and Ron so that Hermione can crawl underneath. But you have to press A not too close. You kind of have to back off and press A in order to correctly get through. Like so. This is one of the things that actually gave me a lot of trouble when I was playtesting this, or doing a test run of it, rather. No, believe me, if I was playtesting this game, I would point out all the glitches in it and say, EA, fix it! Honestly. I kind of like this place. That central thing in the middle of this room looks like precursor metal. Like it's Gollum Maya's Citadel from the first Jak and Daxter game. You see, I was under the impression, when I was recently playing some of the Jak games, that the whole series was good, and it had only recently gotten bad due to Naughty Dog not making the games, and that's not true at all. Jak 2 is in fact not a good game. I've probably warned about this before, but I'm warning you again. Jak 2 needed a lot of polishing. We ran into all these glitches that just forced us to reset, and the life system, despite it looking better than the first Jak and Daxter, actually isn't better at all, and the enemies are harder, therefore making it worse overall. Anyway, what we're getting here is a new page in the Folio Bruti, the 15th page, the Doxy. The Doxy is a horrible enemy, a lot of people's most hated enemy in this game. For me, I'd say it's the second worst. By the way, Harry and Ron can't actually follow you across here, because, I mean, they literally won't. You cannot control Harry and Ron even though they walk through the gate. They won't let you switch to Harry and Ron, for a while now. I won't talk about all the shit that happened in the last room, because now we have Doxies heading our way. My advice for you, target them and sidestep them while just spamming Flipendo. It's better if you have a Dark Forces Flipendo, because you're more likely to kill them. Just don't let a Doxy hit you. If it does, the Doxy is gonna bite you and then infect you with Doxy Venom. Doxy Venom slowly saps your HP, and it will just kill you, unless you have an antidote. Antidotes to uncommon poisons are unfortunately uncommon. So, those two things that we picked up, those green potions earlier, those were the antidotes of uncommon poisons, so we have 2 chances to heal ourselves. But it might not be enough because we're going to come across 3 more Doxies in the next room, although you don't have to face them all if you're smart, so I'm not going to face them all. And I'm really good at fighting Doxies, so we're probably not going to get bit by one yet in the game. I doubt we're going to get bit by a Doxy until, like, a later episode where we have to encounter them again. But I'm just using this dungeon as an opportunity to show you how to fight Doxies well. It seems like most of the time, even though spells make, like, contact with them, they don't kill Doxies. Doxies seem to have to at least take 1 pot shot at you. Like, they have to miss you at least once before you can kill them. That at least seems to be my impression of Doxies, but I might be wrong about that. Anyway, in the last room, you literally can't control Harry and Ron. I've said it, but I'm gonna, like, make myself clear again. When I was playtesting this game, doing my test run in this dungeon, I went back, I froze the water again and walked across to see if I could, like, get Harry and Ron in my party, and I couldn't get them to follow me across the ice, nor could I switch to them. They just kind of stand there like weird-ass holograms. They're sort of like Neville. Like, they'll walk around, but spells don't make them react. They just go through them. Anyway, we've got kind of a neat puzzle in this room that Hermione continually, like, points out it's really complicated, and it's actually more complicated than it looks. It's sort of clever. We've got 3 Doxies locked up in cages here, wooden crates. And we're going to have to break some of those crates in order to move a sliding ice block through this room. What we did with the mirrors sent a little bit of water onto the floor, some cold water that will be very useful for forming an ice block with. And that will slide around this grid. Now here's the thing. You only have to break 2 of these Doxy crates. The third one you can leave alone. However, if you make a fatal mistake during this puzzle, you will have to break all 3 crates, so you'll have to fight another Doxy, which I don't wish on anyone. So just break this crate from a distance, freeing the Doxy. Keep it targeted, like don't let go of the crosshair, otherwise you'll target something else by mistake, trust me. And keep backing up while you're strafing, otherwise the Doxy is just going to bite you right in the face. Doesn't matter how many times you shot it, it doesn't seem to care. Okay, I was really lucky there. It was right on top of us, but we still shot it. And now, this puzzle being kind of cool, we get to use Reparo in order to fix our mistake. Our mistake was breaking this crate. We want this crate solid. Because if we don't, we can mess up this puzzle in a way that forces us to break the third Doxy crate. Now here's the second one we need to break. It's standing directly in the line of where we want to push that ice block. Unfortunately, I took the crosshair off the Doxy for a second, but I managed to avoid getting bit by it, and we defeated the Doxy without getting bit. That, my friends, is a lot more difficult than it looks. When I was a kid, Doxys, of course, they just pumped my character full of venom, and I died over and over in this part, so you have to be incredibly careful about that. Like, just strafe and back out. What's worse is that if you keep failing to hit a Doxy, and believe me, it's easy to fail to hit a Doxy, and you end up, like, getting really low on HP, so you're like, okay, I want to heal myself. You'll drink the antidote, then the Doxy will just bite you again, and you'll have to put up with getting bit over and over unless you manage to kill it, which is really quite difficult, but I've gotten a lot better at it. And actually, when I was a kid and I played this game, I didn't know about the Dark Forces, so even if I managed to hit the Doxy, it probably didn't kill it. That's why this was just such a hard part, and that's why Doxys are generally so infamous, because Dark Forces aren't all that well known, despite them not being hard to obtain. Like, a lot of people kind of just don't notice that you can buy those from Fred and George, because they don't realize that Fred and George give you different things depending on which character you're playing as. Now, you probably noticed when we were playing that sliding puzzle, what we would have had to do in order to fight the third Doxy. Like, we would have been forced to fight the third Doxy if we weren't smart about how we destroyed and repaired those crates. Because if we didn't repair one of those crates, then when we slid the ice block, the only way to get the ice block back to where we needed it would be through the third Doxy crate. So that's all there is to it. Now we've got some more red caps, and because I'm annoyed by their gas attacks, I'm just going to run around them and defeat them. Really hate red caps, they're trollish and annoying. Come to think of it, they sort of remind me of Gasser from Bobobo, with his stink attacks. And that's another thing about this game being complicated, like, more so than it needs to be for stupid reasons, is that Pixie and Doxy sound very similar, but they're completely different enemies, just in their form and function. I'd take a swarm of Pixies over a Doxy any day, honestly. Now, here's another cool thing. We have this broken Flipendo mechanism. We gotta repair it with Reparo before we can hit it with Flipendo. Pretty neat. Even though the animation is kind of like lackluster, it just kind of puts itself together. But it's easy to take for granted, like how special and how neat all those little effects are in games these days, where they try to make each frame of an animation like fully rendered. They don't even do that in this game. Just because they're kind of lazy. I guess I can't blame them. I mean, no one's really going to flip his shit over that Flipendo mechanism not working the way it really should when you're trying to fix it. And over here, we got another wizard card, actually. If you miss the wizard cards in this dungeon, you can get them from Fred and George, just remember that. But why not get them the first time through? This one is Edgar Stroulger. He's the first of the 5 wizard cards. Literally, it's the wizard set of Folio Universitas. You might remember in Chamber of Secrets, Edgar Stroulger is the man who invented the dung bomb. I just remember that because you get that from Fred and George's shop. You have to buy it from them, I'm pretty sure, in Chamber of Secrets. And that's what it says on the card. He was inventor of the dung bomb. It's funny all the random little tidbits of information I remember about this. And really unfortunate, too, because I remember all these useless facts about the Harry Potter game that I don't even particularly care about, and yet I don't remember anything for, like, physics when I try to take that in college. Oh well. I guess we can't really choose what we get to remember and forget. I was actually looking up for the first time recently whether it was possible to manually forget something, because I saw some footage of Pikmin 3 and I'm like, I wish I could forget what I just saw, but unfortunately, like, the mind doesn't like to forget certain things. We've got a cutscene here, so for now, this is Mischief Managed.
Hang on. Oh no!
Here's the part I love where Ron just kind of forgets he has a line.
I'm fine. Just find a way to get me out of here.